Hey guys, welcome to Wiccagemtarot. This video I want to talk about when you give a reading to a client or to your friend or to your family or to completely strangers. Little tips and tricks that would actually help you out during this. First and foremost, make sure the space that you're performing this reading at is clean. Nothing too cluttery or overwhelming to the client. I would just say that don't have like a lot of cats hanging around, having tall bookshelves, anything that makes the person to feel clamped, because you may feel comfortable if it's your living space or your personal space. You may feel comfortable there, but for the person you're reading may not. So try to kind of meet on a mutual ground with one another when you're giving when you're giving your client a reading. Another thing is be professional, or be at your top best, or be respectful. Remember, they're coming to you and asking life decisions or relationships, or it may be the simplest thing, but still they're coming to you and seeking advice from the cards through you. So again, be professional and be at your top best. Another thing is watch out the words you say. This is a huge mistake that a lot of people who are new to tarot or reading tarot cards for like the first time, they make plenty of mistakes. Now remember, and it's a funny thing here, it's a little story. People like to take only a certain amount of information from you, what they like to hear, or where they like to hear that where they could change it or pose a challenge to themselves and stuff like that. But people like to hear keywords, and they take keywords from you when you're talking about an elaborate story, and you're reading the cards and you're telling this awesome epic story. They will take bits and pieces of words out of that, and they're literally some people that I've come across when I'm reading them literally craft their own sentences out of those keywords, and some gun on the dot, like the whole with the same ideal, and some people completely took it to a different level where I'm like, whoa, that's pretty awesome that you found that out, but that's not what I was saying. So once again, words plays huge key factors. Avoid such words as like things that kind of say, oh, this is going to happen whether you like it or not, or tragic is going to struck you down, or you're going to win this much money. Avoid such words as making things unconcrete. Like I said through most of my videos, is that nothing's written in stone. Everything's flexible. Everything changes on an everyday basis. Every minute, every second, all of our lives changes. Another thing that when you're doing spreads or when you're doing readings, spreads is a huge key factor on the person's questions. So if someone comes up to you and asks you a very complex question, you probably want to do a complex spread, match to match, with their question. Sometimes it's good to start out as a conversation with one another and figure out what they're really asking, because I had some people who come up to me and they just tell me 12 different questions from 12 different aspects of their life and expect me to answer all these in 12 minutes. That's not going to happen. I usually help break it down, help situate some things that that I can kind of answer and kind of get in there for them. So it's not like, well, okay, I can answer this question and this question, but I can't answer the rest because I don't have that much cards or not enough energy to do this. Oh no. So it's good to talk about it. The question, it's kind of an icebreaker deal here. Another thing that you want to avoid is, sorry about that, I had to grab Mastering the Tarot by Paul Felton Smith, and it got me thinking questions. When it comes to the questions and stuff, avoid such questions like, will I ever get married? Or when I get married, will I ever win $1 million? stuff like that is so hard to actually resist laughing at or getting frustrated at. And it's very simple. Remember, that's their first question, or that's the very question, that's like their only first question ever asking, you know, for help and whatnot. Even though you heard it a million times. I, for one, heard it a million times and whatnot. But in this section, the basic question on page 56. Now, if really get this book. This is a really good book. Mastering the Tarot, a guide to advancing tarot practice, reading and practice by Paul Philton Smith. And I'll leave the description down his book that you might get it off Amazon and whatnot. It's kind of somewhat pricey, but still, it's a really good book. Like personal relationships, I'm just going to read off here. Is it wise for me to pursue this relationship? What does the future hold for mine and my partner's relationship specifically? Getting really details into the subject is awesome. Like career, like, is it wise for me to continue with this particular career? Will I get this job in X a number of months? Now, there's a whole new video I want to talk about is timing and reading for me. What am I this is for finances. What am I currently doing to prevent myself from becoming more financially secure? Family. This is a really good one right here. What does the future hold for my mother/father's health? Now, when it comes to health readings, you should really watch out for those two. Is that if you're not a really licensed practitioner, if you're not a licensed doctor or a licensed psychologist and stuff, you can't give advice. It's like someone coming off the street and telling you about your health and what you should choose and what you should take. You don't really trust someone off the streets. You really trust licensed persons who went to school for this and school for that. So when it comes to health questions, I for one I'm not licensed in it, but if you are, you can. But for me, I'm not licensed in it, so I'm more like, let's kind of talk about another subject in your life. Let's see what we can make better choices in your life that might, you know, cast a ripple. It might help your health. But I kind of avoid health readings. They're really tricky. I'm really good with spiritual readings. What do I need to learn in order to fulfill my life purpose? How can I confirm that I am on my own path, spirituality? How can I contact and commute with my higher or spiritual evolved self? I mean, these are questions you can answer. Travels and all these type of questions. Now, let me get back to that chapter. Sorry, I kind of jumped myself there. After you got the questions and you're in the middle of your reading and you've matched the spread and you got together and you got it down, you shuffle the deck, you become quiet, become one with yourself, and you're really concentrating, focusing yourself into the reading, and you flip the cards and everything, and it's time to talk. Talk with ease, talk with a very comfortable voice. Calming is a key factor. There are some people who are like really theatrical, like readers, where you go crazy and I'm like, ah, la, 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 la. It just depends on the person. It depends on you. Again, here's where personality comes in. Depends on everything. So after you're reading the whole spread and everything, take note here is that you should really ask, does this make sense to you? Do you have any question about any particular card on the board here, on the table, or in the spread? What didn't make sense? Always ask if everything makes sense. Remember, communication is key here, and you want to make sure they know make sure that they know what you were talking about, what you're saying. Like sometimes when you hit them with a huge story, they're like again, like I said, they only pick out keywords and they only just want to hear what they want to hear, or they want to hear what they can help themselves as opposed to challenge themselves or move on or whatever. Again, this is where you're like, hey, is there anything on this that doesn't make sense to you? You want to look into further a little bit? And sometimes this is where some people actually pull out a clarification card. It's just pulling out another card laying on next to that card in the spread. Excuse me. So here's the question. Here's the time where there is some people who practice readings with the client's question already asked, or silent, whatever preference the person picks, or as yourself picks. Sometimes you might get some skeptics who are like, oh, I have a question, but I'll see if you can get it, which is those are lovely for me. Those are called challenges, and I love it. But for a normal person, for a typical everyday reader, this is the part where it kind of gets difficult if there wasn't really a question asked, but they were silently holding their question. It kind of gets a little difficult. But if they ask you a question, this is the part where it gets fun and sporadic and crazy. I would say fun, crazy, and this is where you guys talk and talk. This is the good part. Now, some readers, I myself should really get into is recording your sessions, recording these readings, because it's healthy to have that. It's healthy to, it's kind of help keep you like an audio journal between one another. You can record it via tape, MP3. You can record on video. You can record. I mean, you could do anything on recording if you could get it down. I have some people who actually bring pen and paper, which I really love those people. They bring a pen and paper and they'll write, they'll take notes, and I really like that because it's like, I don't have to write it down, or I don't have to record it. It's kind of my lazy thing. But it's in their handwriting, it's in their words, it's in their fashion, it's in their, it will make sense to them more than for me writing it down, and to them when they read it, they might think otherwise or differently. I want to get their impression, their thoughts, and their handwriting and their own notebook where they can actually take it home and I'm like, okay, he did say this and this and this, so it makes sense to them a little more than how would I write. So here's just a few tips, I would say, that kind of help out for people who are newbies or beginners to a little bit advanced to like pros and professionals. It's just little tips that I thought that I could share to you. So till then, guys, thank you for watching and subscribing, and I love you guys. Blessed be.